Okay, we're going to talk about the OSI model, and it stands for the Open System Interconnect. And what it does, it provides a complete framework for multi-vendor computer systems to communicate with one another. It determines which components may exist on the network and how they must operate and what form they may take. So essentially what that's saying is that if a computer or there's a software manufacturer and they want to have their software communicate over the network, they would be able to have a standard kind of setup that they could follow in order to make their programs work over the internet or over the network. So what we have here, we've got an example of two separate computers, host 1 and host 2, and this just shows how the data travels from the application layer all the way to the physical layer, and then is sent across the network to the next physical layer, and then this physical layer, the data travels all the way up to the application layer. So in essence, both application layers will see the data in the same way. So there's a few examples of some of the application layer here. There's FTP and Telnet. They both operate on the application layer itself. Okay, the next one is the presentation layer, and this is usually part of the operating system, and what it does, it prepares incoming and outgoing data for the application layer. It does data compression and data encryption also occur at this layer. So we travel from the application layer to the presentation layer, and it prepares it and sends it to the session layer. The session layer manages the establishment of a continuing series of requests and responses between the applications. Then it travels to the transport layer. Transport layer manages end-to-end control, and error checking verifies that packets are received. Got a few examples of that. There's UDP protocol, there's TCP and SXP protocols. Then we go to the network layer, and what this does is it manages communications routing for packets that are destined for addresses that are not on the LAN. So this is actually for systems that are not on the LAN, that transport layer would be on the LAN. So then we travel to the data link layer, and it provides flow and error control and synchronization for the physical layer, takes information from network layer, generates packets, and sends them to the physical layer. So there's some examples of this, which are bridges and switches. So that they're operating on the data link layer. So when information travels into a bridge, it travels up to the data link layer, and from there it's established where the information has to go from there, and then it's sent back. The physical layer is the layer that delivers data from one computer to another, sends and receives data, translating them into suitable formats. And there's a few examples of what operates here. We've got the NIC cards, the network interface cards, then the MAU multi-station access units, which are for the token ring, and Ethernet hubs. And these are three examples of what operates on the physical layer. And what happens here, the data is then sent to the other host, and all the headers and footers are each looked at, and then they're opened up, and the data is then translated all the way back up to the application layer on the other host computer. Okay, we're going to talk about making network connections. There's a couple ways to get to the screen that we want to go to. One is Settings, Control Panel, Network and Dial-Up Connections, and we just select Make New Connection. It's through the Control Panel. Or we could just click on My Network Places, that's left click it, and here we've got Network and Dial-Up Connections. We're able to select that, and we're bringing to the same screen. And this screen is the same one from the control panel. We can either make a new connection, or we can check our already set up connection. We do that by right clicking on it. We can disable it. We can see its status. This is the packets that are being sent. This is what's received already. We're able to disable it. We're able to see more properties. We're able to see that it's the three default properties are set up, which are client for Microsoft Networks, file and printer sharing for Microsoft Networks, and TCP/IP. We can go on top of this and we can see what our actual setup is for the TCP/IP. Here we've got obtain an IP address automatically. If we want to enter in an IP address, we could do it this way. Basically the IP address, subnet mask, and default gateway. And then we're also we have to enter in the DNS server. Then we can click on Advanced, and we can enter in the DNS, the WINS, and the other options that we have. So we're just going to cancel this, and we're going to leave it the way that it was. We're going to obtain everything automatically. And we've got, basically we see the connection using this NIC card. This is and we're able to actually install and uninstall the different connections here. If we choose install, we're given a choice whether we want to install what kind of service we want to install, client, service, or protocol. And over here we've given a description of what it is. Client provides access to computers and files on the network you're connecting to. So if we want to add a client, we're going to open this up and we're going to press add, and we're going to be given a listing of what clients we can add. We can add the client service for NetWare, and that's the only one that's right now that's listed here. We can choose service if we want to add a service, where once again we're given a couple services here, the SAP agent and the QoS packet scheduler. Just going to cancel that, and the different protocols that we have available to us. We've got AppleTalk protocol, DLC protocol, NetBEUI protocol, network monitor driver, and we've got some IPX for and SSP for the Novell NetWare here. So we don't have to add those right now, but if we want to add them, that's how we would go about the process. We'd select which one we want to add, we'd open that up, and then it would appear here on the screen here for us. Or if we want to configure the network card, it's the same as we do from the device manager. Here we've got the troubleshooting, we've got the driver, we're able to see details, we're able to uninstall it, we're able to update it, and the resources that it's using right now. And if there's any conflicts, no conflicts. So this is another quick way that we can check how our driver is doing. So we're just going to close this down here, and we're going to close it. So, and as soon as we make a new connection, we're going to see it show up here. Right now what we're going to do, we're going to make a dial-up connection, and that's going to show up here after we're finished. So we're going to go back to the network connection wizard. We're going to click next, and we're presented with 5 different types, network connection types, and we're just going to go through them briefly. And the first one, what it's used for, is to connect to a RAS server on a private network. So that's RAS server. And what the RAS is, it's the remote access server, and it enables user to log into a LAN using a modem. And it works on the TCP, IP, the IPX, and the NetBEUI protocols. Okay, then you've got your regular dial-up to the internet. So this is basically, if you've got a modem, you want to dial up to the internet, you would select this one just using a regular phone line. If we select next, we're asked to enter our internet account, and we're given a choice of how we want to set it up. Next once again, and so it basically just brings us to the internet connection wizard, and then we'd go from there. The next one is connect to a private network through the internet. And a VPN it stands for the virtual private network. And for VPNs, what you use the public wires to connect to computers. Generally, it's through the internet, and you're going to get a secure connection to the internet using a VPN. The next one is accept incoming connections. And this one, actually, what it does is it allows your computer to accept the VPN. So one computer would be connecting to the VPN, the other one would be set up to accept the VPN connections. And then the next one is connect directly to another computer using a serial or parallel or infrared port. And this is just connecting to another computer through a direct connection. Once we select that, we have to specify whether we're host or we're going to be the guest computer. So let's just say host. Then we're going to be with a choice of what we're using, the device that we're using for the connection. So we would just have to select which device that it is that we're using. So we'll just leave it at that. We're able to see the different, well, we don't have the properties configured yet, but we're able to click next. And here we're able to select which users are going to be able to connect, and next again, and basically what the connection will be named, and then this would finish up setting up the connection wizard. So we're just going to cancel that. And as we can see in our network and dial-up connections, we actually our connection that we were making almost showed up here. So if we would have made an actual connection, it would be sitting here beside the local area connection. So we're just going to shut that down again. Okay, what we're gonna talk about is the different line protocols. And originally, when TCP/IP was made, it was made for LAN characteristics. And in order to use them over a phone-based connection, the SLIP and the PPP encapsulate them. So what we're going to talk about here is the SLIP, and SLIP supports TCP/IP support. It's got no error detection and it's got no encryption. And then the newer version is the PPP, which has TCP/IP and IPX, NetBEUI, and other protocols. It allows the user to have a static IP and the DHCP, and it allows encryption. And then the last one is the PPTP, which is used to create VPN connections. So when you're connecting through the line protocols, through the modem, these are the different choices of protocols that you're able to use. We're going to talk about troubleshooting with TCP/IP and also some other DOS commands that we're going to be going through. We want to go to Start, Run. We want to open up the DOS, so we can type in command here. And what this does is this is going to open up our DOS screen. Okay, the first one we're just going to talk about is resolving the name of the computer. So if we just quickly want to know what the name of the computer is, we can type in hostname, and we see that hostname is Discover, and this is the same information that we get by right-clicking my computer, going to Properties, going to Network Identification, and we see that full computer name is Discover. We're in the work group, called Work Group. Here we're able to rename the computer or join a domain. So we can click on Properties. This also gives us the computer name. We're able to change the computer name here. And if we want to make ourselves a member of a domain, we would check off here and we type in the domain. Or if we want to change the work group that we're in, we can type in the work group that we want to be in over here. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. And if we want to open up the network identification wizard, we would click Network ID, and this would in turn open up the wizard for us. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel this. So just to get the name of the computer, we can type in hostname. Make this a little bit bigger. And the next one I'm going to talk about is ipconfig. And what we're going to first do, we're just going to list off a bunch of commands that are available in ipconfig. So we type in ipconfig \?, and this gives us a whole listing of all the different commands that are available to us. Here it's got a description of what the command, this is the one that we just typed in. If we want to type in ipconfig \all, it displays the full configuration information. We're able to release the IP address, we're able to renew IP address, and there's a few other ones down here that we're able to do. So what we're going to do, we're going to type in ipconfig \all, and this is going to give us a whole bunch of information, useful information that we're able to use. We're also given the host name, we're given the node type, and we're given some more information here. We're given the physical address, the MAC address, we're given the IP address, we're given the subnet mask, default gateway, a few other ones here. So if we want to get a more simplified form, we could just type in ipconfig, and this would open up basically the same information that we had here is listed here again. But ipconfig \all would give us a full listing of all the useful information that we're able to see. And as for troubleshooting, let's say that the IP address was 0.0.0.0. This kind of this kind of configuration would mean that the NIC address is not being detected, and that you would be able to look into why it's not being detected. So there's a lot of useful information here that that's displayed with ipconfig. The next one we're going to talk about is ping, P-I-N-G, and what this does is this is able to check a connection. So the first one we're going to check is the loopback address, which is 127.0.0.1, and as you can see we're pinging this in. This is the address that we're pinging, and we're sending some packets. We've sent 4 packets, received 4, and we've lost 0, and we've got the amount of time that it took here, the average amount of time, and it's also listed here. The next thing that we can ping our local address, which was 192.168.2.11. So once again we're able to see that we are able to ping our local address. Same thing, we're able to send 4 packets, receive 4 packets, lost 0. Then the next thing that we should try is pinging the default gateway, which is this address here currently for my machine. So I just typed it in and I saw that I am able to ping the default gateway. And then the last one, we can ping a remote host. Just going to pick one here at random. We're also able to ping by the DNS, so we're able to ping by yahoo.com. And we're going to see that we're sending the 4 packets, and we've got replies from them. There's a few different variations in the time, the maximum and the average here. So in this way we're able to see that the network connection is made, and we're able to check that everything's working properly. The next tool that we're going to talk about is the trace RT, and what this does, it determines the route taken to a destination. So we have to we're going to actually just enter in the router's address here, the default gateway router's address, and here we've got trace RT. We've entered in, and what we see coming up, we've got the number of hops that it's going to take, and these are the hops that it takes. And as you can see, it only took 1 hop, but if you're pinging like an external address, you could get anywhere like sometimes like 20 hops. You get a whole listing of all the different hops that it takes to get to the certain address that you're trying to find. So this is a good way to find the route that's taken by the computers here. And the last one that we're going to talk about is ARP. And ARP, what it's used for is to get the MAC address from the IP address. And here we've got a listing of all the different ARP syntaxes that we're able to use. And we've got a couple examples here of how they're getting ARP-S, which is it's adding the host and associates the internet address. So it's adding a static entry into it by their example over here. And we've got the MAC address, and what the MAC address, the first 3 bits of the MAC address, they identify the card's manufacturer. So just to keep that in mind. So using this tool, it's a good way to determine the MAC address of your NIC, of your network interface card. The next one we're going to talk about is the NS Lookup Exact, and what this does is it troubleshoots the DNS servers. So what we would do, we would be typing, and I'm just going to clear this. CLS clears the screen. We're typing in NS Lookup. So this is going to execute a program in order to troubleshoot a DNS server. Right now I don't have one attached, but if we want to get like a listing of the commands, we could just type a question mark, and we're able to get a whole bunch of commands here that we're able to use with NS Lookup. So just going to exit this for now because we don't have the ability to use these commands. And the next one we're going to talk about is root. And what the root program does is it's for a network with more than 1 root. So here we've got a listing of all the different commands under root that we're able to use. Okay, another command that we can enter is the net view, and this command, what it does is it's going to show us a listing of the computers that are in our work group, and what we're going to do is just going to press it so we can see an example. And currently we see that there's only one computer in our work group, and the computer is our computer Discover. Okay, we're just going to get out of the DOS program now, typing exit, and that finishes up the DOS.